Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen so you know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So in this particular video, I know there's going to be some men out there, because there's always issues, with people, marrying outside of their race. And some of it, comes from, a little bit of the gender war, issues that we have going on. And I've always said, while it is a little bit more difficult for, black women to, marry white men, is not impossible. Right. And I think that's the big thing. Because I know, if I do get any comments about that from more of a gender war perspective, that's going to be, what the comment is. So there's your answer. So let's move on. So if you've been following, my channel for any type of length of time, you know that I talk about this all of the time. And it really doesn't matter if the woman is, white, if she's black, if she's Asian, if she's Latino, because the whole concept here is that a woman knows what she wants her man to look like. She does. And I've constantly said that most people are attractive. And I've had a lot of pushback on that. But a lot of times, again, I think people really don't understand when you start to talk about traditionally attractive, socially attractive, and even when you start to deal with what I call glamour, or when you start to deal with men grooming. See, unless really your eye is on the other side of your head or you have some other type of defect, you're generally seen as attractive. Okay. But a lot of people don't feel that they're attractive. And it's generally because you're dealing with society's norms. But it's like I've told you before. These are, the things that I know. Like I say, if you take a dark skinned woman, okay, that is attractive, and you put her in Northern California, from what I have been told, it'll be a very difficult time for her. She's not going to get a lot of attention. Okay, and she might, think that she's not attractive. You take that same woman and you put her in the Southeast United States, and they might find her decently attractive. She'll get a lot of attention, blah, blah, blah. You take that woman and you move her to Nigeria, and she might get a lot of attention. Okay, and see, it's really about the people that you are around, because everybody's look, their appearance, how they, see themselves in the world is really based upon your lineage. And there are other people in the world that look like you. So if you don't like the way you look, it's generally because, you don't like your lineage. But people, generally speaking, that are from your lineage will find you attractive. But again, do you find those people attractive? Are you attracted to people who look like you? And I put up, a lot of different, things in the past where I've talked about this. When you start to even deal with the, black, generational blacks in America, we come from, the west coast of Africa. Most of us come from the west coast of Africa. And most of us are blended with about 15 to about 30% of, European blood. Generally, it's going to be English, but it might not be, right? Okay. But most of us are going to have a little bit of European blood in us. Okay. It's very rare, okay, to have someone that is like 100%, pure African. Okay. So when you start to think about that and you start to look at, okay, the men that are from the west coast of Africa and the women from the west coast of Africa, this is why a lot of those people might find you attractive. Okay, but if you start to go to the east coast of Africa, those people look slightly different because they have a little bit more of a blend, okay, with, the Middle East and maybe even a little what we would call Indian, they might have a little bit more of that blood in them. So while they are black, they don't look exactly like the West Coast Africans, right? And see, this is what's literally going on. Okay, so when you start to look at around the world, it's about who finds you attractive. And sometimes we're attracted to people that don't look like us. We might find their look to be exotic or interesting. And it's so different than us that we might find that attractive as well. But generally speaking, unless you have been born with some kind of, like I say, situation where your eyes are in a different place or your ears are in a different place or your nose is fully upside down, there's probably going to be somebody that finds you attractive. So all of that being said, remember what my channel is about. It's about getting you married. The next level to that is, are you doing everything you can do to get yourself close to 10? And then when you're in the dating market, are you as a person willing to kind of level up, the people that you're with? See, the problem that I have with the whole black wife effect trend is, to me, is kind of sad. Not sad in a perspective of like trying to put black down interracial relationships and things like that. It's more because a lot of the women that I find, like I said, it might be some different ones out there. And if you're one of those different ones and you found this video, please hit me up on Instagram, because I would love to bring you on the channel and actually have a real conversation. I don't beat people up. When I talk to them, I'm actually asking real questions so that I can find out, so that I can learn, and so that I can grow and I can help the people on the channel. Okay. But what I find is that a lot of black women end up dating basically nerdy white men. Okay. Men that are a little bit more intellectual, men that are a little bit more in that nerd category. At least, like I say, the ones that I come into contact with. It's rare for me to run into a black woman who has married a corporate giant, or somebody, that is an accountant at a company or something like that. They're generally marrying engineers. They're generally marrying, those type of men. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I say, I get along with those men fine. That's a little bit about my personality. I would say about 30-40% of my personality. But see, that's part of the problem, is because there are a lot of black men that are a little bit more intellectual that make the argument all the time that a lot of black women are bypassing them. And see, that's where it's kind of sad to me, because, again, I know that there's a lot of black women out here that are saying that they really want a black man. But then when they get an intellectual black man, because he doesn't act like the typical black man, a lot of times they might bypass him. But then they will accept a white man with the same mindset, with the same energy. Now, I will admit, not all black women are like this. I do find that the younger you go, so this will be like young millennials, they generally don't have as much of a problem with, distinguishing between, a white guy who's a little bit nerdy or a black guy that's a little bit nerdy. Because I do find that the younger millennials tend not to be, so prejudiced against their own. I think because they've seen so much, and they're a little bit more cultured, they really don't have as much of a problem. Like I say, this is from my experience here in Atlanta. We do have a lot of cultures here, a lot of different people. And I have found a lot of black women that have dated multiple races and different things like that. Their final husband was black. But I find when they've done that, or at least when they've been around that, they tend not to be the type of women that put black men in one category. And I know a lot of black men that follow me, can really feel that pain, because when it comes down to it, that is one of the biggest issues, because a lot of the black men that really will take care of you, really will be there and stuff like that, many of them might have a little bit of nerd energy in them, i.e. intellectual energy. But again, they don't necessarily look like Steve Urkel. And again, what you saw in the video, these men did not look like Steve Urkel. They didn't look necessarily like, the Backstreet Boys or, NSYNC or Justin Timberlake or whoever, but they did, kind of move and groove in, like I say, a little bit more of just a t-shirt and jeans type of situation. And see, my thing has always been that a lot of people, both men and women, don't really know how attractive they really are. But if they can actually get out there and find people that can speak into their lives, that can work into their lives, that can help them find their style, okay, it can work for them. But I also find that your style is going to pull to you certain people. For instance, I had a situation, and if I find the pictures, I'll toss them up so you can see. But I had a situation where a friend of mine, like I told you, because I lean on a lot of the women in my lives, the women in the friend zone, to help me with my style. And I had one, where I had this black shirt on and it had these kind of gold chains. And you might have seen that type of style before. And then I had another style that I wear a lot where I have, a blazer on or, a suit jacket type of deal, just with a shirt underneath and maybe some jeans. And sometimes I'll even wear that with sneakers. And I had one lady that I was dating. She loved that style of me. She was just like, oh, that is you. That is you all day. And then when I showed her the picture, with the black shirt and the chains, she didn't like that. She was like, no, that's not really me. And then I had another woman that liked both, right? So again, the person that you're with is going to kind of guide your style a little bit. But the point I'm trying to make in this video is not necessarily, number one, just leaning into men. Okay, because women can get this too. And this is why if you have a decent guy, ladies, and even a decent guy in the friend zone, it's good sometimes for him to speak into your wardrobe. Because sometimes, you could be making, fashion faux pas out here and not really allowing yourself to be at your best. And then at the same time, again, this is always goes back to, again, a lot of women that they are a lot more attractive many times than what they think they are. So we have to recognize that many of us, the attraction piece is really not outside of our grasp. Okay, it's just about how much energy we're willing to put in it. And I think that is the whole concept of the black wife effect. That these women come in and they see this raw clay, and then now they're fixing it up in what they consider to be the best look for this person. And I know for me that I lean into that every day. I love that. And I've, even explained to you all many times on this channel that, if I get into a relationship with a woman that's really great, oh yeah, I will go get her, one or two $500 gift cards or whatever and be like, okay, go buy me some clothes, and just let her dress me the way she wants to dress me. Because at the end of the day, it's more important how she thinks I'm attractive. I mean, unless she's, turning me into something that I can't, show up in the corporate world, I'm okay with it. And to a degree, like I said, and even like the coach said on the video, I feel even as a man, if I can't speak into your style, if I can't speak into how you're, dressing yourself, then can you really say that we are truly one, that we're trying to move towards one, that we're trying to truly be in a relationship? Okay, because a man should be able to speak into a woman's, wardrobe as well. So both of these things should be happening as you all are dating. But again, this is another reason why I encourage a lot of women to not necessarily always be looking for the best dude, but to look for the dude that you can kind of look at and say, oh, he's kind of attractive. Maybe he just needs to change his hairstyle. Maybe he needs to grow a beard or cut his beard. Maybe he needs to change his clothes a little bit, because you would be surprised. You might find a man that is your 10, okay, and you never thought it. And see, that is one of the huge differences, like I said, between the women in the past and the women in the present. Because the baby boomers had no problem with doing that. And then the women, even before them, really did not have any problem doing that. Because the women before them understood, in their mind, they didn't think men could dress at all. It was very few men that looked good walking around. And so women almost always knew that they had to find the diamond in the rough. Okay, but the modern woman wants the man fully put together. And the only thing that I'm going to encourage you and warn you about that, ladies, is that you have to make sure that the man really likes you and that you're not just a placeholder. Because you might think, oh, I got my life together, I got money, I'm attractive, blah, blah, blah. But if he doesn't find you attractive, if he doesn't think you're all that, then what can happen is you can fix him up and then he can move on to another woman. And we've had movies that have talked about this, but nobody wants to talk about the fact that a lot of times these men really weren't into the woman. And again, I think we have more knowledge now than we had back then, when a lot of those movies came out and different things like that. But because when you're really starting to talk about that, a lot of men, and like I say, I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I've done plenty of videos about it in the past. But a lot of men aren't attracted to your money per se. And they're not necessarily attracted to your status. So as a woman, if you're like, oh, it's because I am doing this and it's because I'm doing that. No, at the core, okay, a man is generally going to lean into the 3 non-negotiables for a woman. And a woman can stack more stuff on top of that. But generally speaking, that is not going to bless you and help you, and it's not really going to do much for you. And you might think it does, but it doesn't. And see, that's when generally these women, will be out here and they'll be upset because they'll say, oh, I did that to a guy and he left me. Well, again, were you attractive to him in the first place? Were you the type of person that he thought was kind and supportive? Because if you weren't, then he probably didn't like you. He was just hanging out with you. And I do think a lot of women, especially when they are thinking that they're at this high level, it's very easy for them to get caught up with a placeholder because they think that they are the catch. And if the man asks them out or different things like that, they believe even through that asking out, oh, that the man must like me. But it's not, it doesn't work that way. Most men, if they're right next to an attractive woman, they will talk to that woman. Okay, that's most men, period. But when you start to talk about more players and stuff like that, or F-boys or whatever, they will walk across the room to talk to a woman and still really not consider her to be, much beyond, oh, just somebody to talk to for now. You have to know whether or not the man really likes you, okay? And, in order for him to stay with you. And I just want to give you that warning, at the end of this, because I think that's one of the things about the black wife effect is remember that word wife. All right. And so there are women out there that are saying, yes, once I'm married, I am going to hook my husband up. And if you want to be one of those women, you can look at it from that perspective. Once you're married and he's attached to you and he loves you and he ain't going nowhere, then if you want to hook him up, you can do it then. All right. But you have to make sure that whatever man, you're talking to is going down that road. And for all the men that are watching this video, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just in reverse. Like, I don't have a problem, like I said, leveling up a woman that I am dating. But the bottom line is it ain't going to happen on day 1. It ain't going to happen on day 30. It's going to happen when we're deep in a relationship and I feel 100% comfortable that this woman wants to be with me. She ain't trying to go to nobody else. Okay. And I think that's really important for us to look for those signs, but there's plenty of other videos that talk about that. Anyway, remember every other Wednesday, we do, a Zoom live. So if you're interested in that, remember that. Also, we're moving more into subscriptions because, like I say, those lives and different things like that are going to move into that subscription place. So, just to let you know that. But if you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe. And remember, everybody gives it a big thumbs up. And I am going to see you all in the very next video.